Pizza, come in. One Piece gang. You feel me? So this chapter is 1069. All things are brought into this world with hope. A very strangely philosophical title in the midst of what I think will be a pretty action-oriented chapter. CP0 just showed up with a terrifying pacifista of their own, running into Luffy and Jinbei and others. I don't know. I don't think this is going to end totally peacefully, although, of course, this isn't going to be the big climactic showdown of the arc. Before that, we get the latest update of Germa's excursions. So MADS, I thought at first was like the government science organization, where Caesar Clown and Judge Vinsmoke and Vegapunk all work together. But now it's like this independent thing, and it looks sketchy as hell. The Charitable Research Lab for Peace. One of those things like the more adjectives you add to it to make it sound good, the worse it actually sounds sort of things. And, you know, obviously Dufeld is like a really scummy dude. We know that. He looks scummy as hell. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on here, but it's definitely not good. And it would make sense that unscrupulous motherfuckers like Vinsmoke and Caesar Clown would be working for him. I love the design of the ship, though. It's so silly. And it's got this pacifist flag waving around. But yeah, I like that kind of steamboat style. Is that a huge cannon on the front, or is that just part of the like architecture of it? Because if it's a huge cannon, it really kind of calls into question this whole pacifist for peace thing. Anyways, okay. Atlas got pretty mercilessly blown up by Rob Lucci. I would really like to understand, you know, just how strong Rob Lucci is now, because it makes sense that he would have been spending this entire time in a government training program just as extensive as what Luffy could have been doing. Like, the military has, and the government probably has even more, really, really strong people probably enlisted just for this sort of service. Like, Garp is officially now just like a military educator, right, for the Navy? So, Lucci, I think it makes perfect sense to have kind of kept pace with Luffy this whole time. Who knows? Who knows? They're serious about getting rid of Vegapunk. Okay. So Jinbei, it's kind of weird because I still think it's like this very intrigue-oriented arc where everybody kind of has a different slice of the story. That I think Vegapunk was being sincere when he said, yeah, all those government vessels, they left our island just fine. We aren't blowing people up. And then there's some third force that is blowing people up, but the government perhaps thinks this is a convenient time to wipe out Vegapunk anyways, maybe cluing in on what he knows. And Vegapunk, although the government may not know everything that he knows, the extent of which he's researched the Void Century, knows that he's done enough to get in trouble. So I really think it's going to be this weird melting pot. But Jinbei, I guess, was already clued into the idea that maybe the world government is just going to rub out Vegapunk here and now. It's the pigeon guy. It's a government island. Good point. We're the ones who shouldn't be here. Kaku, again, acting way goofier than I thought, calling them dastardly villains. I don't know. Again, I'm not, like, complaining. It's just sort of... It's just... It stands to reason, like... Or goes to show, like, what kind of character traits linger in your mind aren't always one-to-one with how the character actually is. That I just kind of remember Kaku being more stoic, I think because I just really like that kind of stoic, reserved character. And him being kind of like mysterious, and then the big, you know, change that when he's fighting Zoro, he's pushed to this point of embarrassment and starts going on about spaghetti factory and trying to name his attacks in the moment. Don't attack them, Lucci. Now let's try as one of the four emperors. We cannot fight without approval from above. Whoa, interesting. Okay, this makes a lot of sense. That if they attack Straw Hat, who knows what kind of forces he can mobilize in response, how quickly he can mobilize in response. They can very quickly be biting something off that they can't chew. I like this idea that they need permission from above to even fight Luffy now. That it just becomes this international incident of great political significance. Because imagine this as well. It's like, oh, you know, the world government just attacked Luffy. that gives like carte blanche to all the other emperors to be like, oh, the government is occupied with fighting Luffy. That means that we should have free reign to do whatever we want for a little bit. It's really cool because, you know, ever since we learned about the Shichibukai, we've heard around about this like balance of powers in the world that everybody always talks about. We need to maintain the balance of powers. And this is really kind of proving how real a concept that is. That just, it's not just that it sounds cool, but that this world actually functions through the fact that people can't just attack each other willy-nilly because it causes this whole house of cards to collapse. And the government has to be so strategic, even if they think they can win. Okay, but is Lucci going to listen to any of this? I think this might be more of Frankie Sally. Yeah, I don't think Luffy gets that was a robot. But, I mean, it's messed up. But she made sure we had plenty to eat. This is pretty funny. Because this is, you know, Luffy's whole shtick, and every arc, he becomes intensely sympathetic to someone who is later put in jeopardy, is attacked, is whatever. And that is all the personal motivation he needs to seek revenge and to tear down the whole system of power entrenched on that island or whatever, right? And usually it turns out that the only reason he got so attached to that person is because they fed him. And here, it's the same kind of story, but like, not only does he not have any idea what's going on, which is standard, she didn't really even feed them. It's not like Wano, where the country is impoverished and it was a great sacrifice from Otama to give some clean rice and water to Luffy, right? Instead, it's just, she showed Luffy how the machine works. He was never going to starve. But it's like, he has so little contextual awareness that this is just as significant, you know, a personal favor to him. And this is, and it's a robot too, and he doesn't get that either. That like, Alice is gonna be fine. She's not dead. Okay, meanwhile, the Navy finds out the Straw Hats are an egghead. Things getting complicated again. Vegapunk learned about what CP0 was planning. Okay, so CP0 definitely either way was gonna wipe him out. And Vegapunk seemed to know that. But it's, again, it seems like there's something more at play, that CP0 and Vegapunk aren't like as enemy as they, because again, I'm just thinking, like, I think it, in my mind, I just feel like this is gonna somehow become greater threat that Luffy and Lucci team up against. I feel like it's just so possible, just to give another spin on the character. Declaration of war at this point. Those brats would have talked to us first. Vegapunk's recruited Straw Hat to his side, and we're losing out a major source of combat power. The Seraphim Pacifista, perhaps? Here we see some Marines. I think that's Very Good in the hat with the bushy beard. And this is Hina, Black Cage Hina, perhaps? I don't know, it's hard to tell. And of course they're talking to Aka Inu, the fleet admiral. Kizaru is on his way to Egghead for a prior Ooh, I love Kizaru. Kizaru is like one of my favorite Navy characters. Do not let him do battle with Straw Hat. Okay. So, can Luffy take Kizaru now? Kizaru is so friggin' broken. It's like unclear how you're supposed to fight him. That only Raleigh has ever like even impeded him. And it didn't even seem like Kizaru was actually getting pushed to his limits. More just like, what a pain. This dude has Haki. I'm just not gonna fight him. But like, Kizaru can just like blast people with lasers and then turn into light and disappear. I don't know. It's hard to imagine him losing still, like one-on-one with Luffy. Okay. Okay, Luffy fighting Rob Lucci. Astonishing speed. It's usually the case that awakened zone powers absorb and control the user's personality. Like when Chopper goes Monster Point, I guess? Is that an awakened zone? Awakened zone. Huh? We know about Awaken Paramythica, where you start, the terrain itself seems to be imbued with the Devil Fruit power. and awakened Logia is like similar. And then, how does it work? What does awakening mean? And does it have something to do with the idea of putting devil fruits into inanimate objects, which is something we know Vegapunk was responsible for? Newsflash for you, Straw Hat. You're not the only one who's gotten stronger. Okay, so now he's awakened. And we see these distinct swirly flames. Ooh. The warrior in white. So is Luffy's Gear 5 the awakened form of his sun god fruit power, which is a zone fruit, I guess? Unclear. Also interesting that Vegapunk doesn't really understand what it is either. I don't know either. Isn't it his Gum Gum power? So, like, none of the crew, not even Luffy, knows at all what the heck the Gum Gum fruit actually is, right? So I guess we're gonna hear from Vegapunk what's going on. Even in the oldest books of Devil Fruit, there's no such thing as a Gum Gum fruit. He's always going, come this and come that. Looks just like a god who appears in the oldest of text. He's a moron, right? Whoa, he transformed so quickly. The foolish and laughable warrior of liberation who brings smiles to all people, also known as Nika, the sun god. You wouldn't have it. It's a name that's been erased from the historical record. But as long as people wish for him, his existence will never truly disappear. All things are brought into this world with hope. Yes, even the devil fruits. So this is really interesting. Okay, like there's a bit of lore stuff here. That's very interesting. But then the mechanics of Gear 5 are not at all what I expected. I thought it was that this was going to be something we would see very, very rarely. And it would be super dramatic every time. That it would be in situations where Luffy is pushed to the absolute limit. That he starts hearing the heartbeat of liberation and can go Gear 5, right? But no. Without even really understanding how strong Lucci is. Just being told, oh, he's gotten stronger. We see the drums. Off screen he transforms as if it's a casual thing. And now stuff that was getting huge 2-page spreads in the fight against Kaido is now just kind of standard. That this is how he fights. He just Looney Tunes them. He gag characters them. I don't know how I feel about it. Because I love it. I love Gear 5. I love the whole style of it. I think it's like so funny and so creative and so aligned with like the spirit of One Piece. Like just this thing of him moving his head around and seeing all the different facial expressions. Like it's just so joyous and creative, and you can tell Oda has such a fun time drawing it. But it's like so casual now. It's just so suddenly casual that I don't know, like does it ruin the impact? And then also thinking about like power levels, I'm like, yeah, it would make sense that Lucci has like kept pace with Luffy up until a point, up until Gear 5. And then Luffy suddenly has this transcendental power that was able to go toe-to-toe with Kaido. There's no way that Lucci can keep up with that. So if this is just Luffy's default fighting stance now, it's like hard to imagine, how is he gonna lose? I don't know. I feel like this battle is just a non-starter. That Lucci is screwed. Every devil fruit is a possibility for human evolution that someone desired. If only I could be like this. If only I could be like that. All those powers represent the many branches of the future of humanity. Okay, if you say so, Professor. But that unnatural status is loathed by the sea, the mother of nature. A fitting punishment for its sin. Those with powers exist in different dimensions dreamed up by someone else before them. This is only my theory. So you see, you don't even have to debate whether any god exists or not. Isn't just such a fascinating world. Okay, they're fighting. They do their iconic fist colliding as they did in the original fight. This is like so wacky because like this is the first time we've seen an Awakened Zone fruit. And it's like, whoa, yeah, Lucci's like hyped up. He's going to be really strong now. Who knows what Luffy's going to have to resort to fight him, if he's even going to have time to, like, tangle with him. But now it just kind of seems like he's getting owned. And all this, like, imagining of an awakened devil fruit or whatever, just so, it feels so, like, irrelevant next to just the huge lore bombs dropped about what the hell Luffy actually is. Devil fruits representing possible branches of human evolution. Crimes of the future. David Cronenberg. Eat the plastic fruit. Okay, I'm losing it. This is crazy. So Luffy here, I don't know, it's not like he's crushing him. I guess you gotta wonder. It's like hard to judge exactly how powerful Gear 5 is, right? Because the way he fought Kaido was just so goofy. Like, is it even like strictly stronger? Or is it just that it's filled with so much joy and hope that it deals like psychological damage to somebody like Kaido, this old stick in the mud? I don't know. It's not like we know straight up, yeah, it makes him like 10 times stronger or whatever. Whoa, Sentomaru! Cypher Pole's our friend. Pirates are our enemies, so I'm having CP0, right? I just love Sentomaru's design so much. It's got the huge axe. It's the fact that... Do you remember the panel? Luffy runs at him. He's ready to punch. And then this is back when Haki was like the forefront of mystery. So if you knew, you knew that this is how he did it. And Sentomaru just goes, hop! and bops Luffy. And he's like hurt. He's like bruised by the attack. And he's like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm made out of rubber. It was, oh man, it's so good. And him going, I don't even need my axe to fight you. Just the fact that he's like so lazy is so fun. Not the case, Sentomaru. CPU0 is threatening my life, in fact. Could you drive him off for me? Should have asked your opinion first. So there's a request coming from me, the man who took you in and saved your life. What do you think you should do? Sentomaru, what are you gonna do? Talk about pressure. And here we see the Seraphim Boa Hancock and Jinbei, who we've seen before. And then Seraphim Mihawk, who we didn't really see him in action so much on Amazon Lily, but we saw that somebody had cut the island in half. We can, I think, assume reasonably that that was Seraphim Mihawk. They're such cool designs. Because, you know, I don't know, in anime, the idea of like, oh, it looks like a little girl, but she's actually a badass android with mystical powers and a heart of steel. Pretty cliche. And it's like, I think more just a testament that Oda hadn't done anything like this yet. And it's done in such like a weird way where it carries so much significance that we like already really know who these characters are and we know what they're capable of. And then there's still so many mysteries too, like why are they look like Lunarians with the dark skin and the wings and the fire and stuff. So it's like, I don't know, even though we're leaning into one really tropey thing, it's done in a way that's like really captivating. And they do look pretty badass. Seraphim, that's a heavyweight matchup. Esper, wipe out those agents. Whoa! Okay, I want to see CP0 kind of get owned. At first I was like, yeah, maybe they'll team up with the Straw Hats. Like maybe they'll recognize that there's like a hit job being put out on Vegapunk. But nah, you know what? Just fuck them up. They're evil. You don't have the same rank on the Pacifista's authority hierarchy. Even the 5 elders can't do it over a transponder set. Ah, interesting. I see. Makes sense. Their authority chip is pretty low. Destroy the Seraphim, this will blow to the government's property. Didn't think this through, Lucci. The mole pistol? That's so funny! Bro, we just get one panel of this? That's like... How is he still coming up with such creative Gum attacks this many years into the series that he shoots into the ground and then he like rubberizes the ground and punches out. S Snake, that's the vacuum rocket. That's in the Frontier Dome. S Hawk and S Shark. Yeah, he just calls him Axe Boy. You're an emperor now, and you got that weird look going on. It really feels like Luffy's just kind of on drugs while this is happening, right? That when he goes into Gear 5, he just is living this weird hallucinatory version of the world. I don't know, man. There's so much. So many mysteries left. Whoa! Uh-oh. So Sentomaru was the one that was in control of the Pacifista, yeah. But Vegapunk... Can't Vegapunk just over the speakers? Hold. But the 5 elders can't do it over a transponder snail. Okay, so they have to be in person. But it doesn't seem that hard for Vegapunk to ship one of his satellites down there and be like, what's up, what's up? Stop fighting the Straw Hats. Okay, interesting. This creates an interesting dynamic of who's in control of the Seraphim. Sentomaru, I hope he's okay. He's a real one. And, yeah, I don't know. I don't have much else to say. There's a lot to speculate on here. But it's still so abstract. Like, we've kind of just answered some questions with other questions. There's still no concrete explanation of, like, how the Devil Fruits actually come to be. Just, like, how they're motivated. But really good shots of Nika fighting. Always into that. The Gear 5 Luffy. Okay, let's look forward to next week. So excited. Bye-bye.